Hello everyone and welcome back to Shapes 2, where today we're going to build an MAM. Well, I say we're going to attempt to build an MAM. So, I think I'm going to try to build this completely from scratch, completely make it up myself. I'm not going to look it up unless I get super stumped, and hopefully we can figure it out. I don't think I'm going to go for a 12-belt system first. I think I'm going to go for something that just works first, and then I can upgrade it later. That makes a whole lot of sense. And also, since this one has crystals on it, I think we're just going to go for the shape 1 right now, because crystallizers add a lot more complexity to it, because there can be gaps, there can be crystals on multiple floors. It's going to get really complicated. So I think we're just going to go for random shape 1. I would assume, I don't know this for sure, but I assume that this one is only just shapes, and this one is crystals as well. We will see. So we're going to go for this first. And apparently I've made 480 of these before. Didn't know that. But anyways, there we go. We're going to have to figure out how to do this. So my initial thoughts are we're going to need to get some kind of platform somewhere that just makes everything, right? We're going to need to have every type of raw shape available. And then what we can do is we can make a system that will take, I think, quarters. I think what we do is we send in full shapes just to have a huge supply of them. And then for each corner, we just take a full shape and cut it down. Because then we can run one single belt of shapes, and then it'll get cut properly into 4 corners, which then we will have 4 full belts of the corners, which then, theoretically, 4 full belts of each side of the corner will give us 4 full belts of the actual shape we want to make for the milestone. I think that makes sense in my head. Does it make sense in reality? No idea. So I think that's what we're going to start with. We need to start with a way to get every single type of shape into a certain area so we can process it. Real question is, where are we actually going to build this? I'm thinking maybe here, because there's quite a lot of space and quite a lot of shapes. And over here, we already have full squares, full circles, and full spikes. So this can maybe be our first MAM mining area. So I'm just going to put a label here and call this the MAM. I don't know what shape code to use. Oh, wait, I have an idea. We can use this one that was left in the comments. Nice little happy face. Perfect. All right, so this is going to be the MAM platform. So we need to figure out where we're actually going to put this now. You know what? I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to use a 3x3, and we're just going to kind of plonk it down here. The real question is, how are we going to do this? Because I'm just thinking, how many different types of shapes are there? We've got spikes, circles, squares, emeralds, diamonds. Is there any more than that? Okay, yeah, it literally is just those 4. So that's not too bad. I'm thinking, how are we actually going to do this? Because I'm just preemptively thinking about how many inputs we're going to need here. Because if we think about this, we're going to need 1 input for each shape. You know, trains have a pretty high capacity anyway, so why don't we just leave stuff on trains, and then we just take out the shape when we need it? I feel like that would be a good idea, so I don't know what size of platform to use. You know, that's kind of the hard part here. I guess, you know what, why don't we, instead of just working on platforms, blah, 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 let's just get all the shapes in first, because then that will hopefully help me think, hey, this is how we're doing this. So let's get all these shapes mined. I'm going to send them all into trains, and then probably on all 3 floors too, just so we have an ample supply. Probably not going to need that many, but it would be nice to have. And since there's 4 shapes, we can have a different color train for each one. Oh, dude, this is a great idea. Okay, so red is going to be squares. Okay, so then basically we're going to put 3 train stops here. We're going to have 3, so that's a whole bunch of squares. We're never going to have to worry about squares again, and we just copy this to all other shapes. Circles is easy. We just slap it down right here, and then change the train color to, let's go green. Spikes is the same. Slap this down right there, and we're going to change this one to probably blue. Unfortunately, there's no emeralds in this square, so we're going to have to look for them elsewhere. I mean, we could go right here. Yeah, let's just go right here. We're going to have to do a little bit of processing, but that's okay. All right, and there we have our emeralds. They should be getting stacked on top of each other properly. Yep, emeralds, perfect. And then this one is going to be a white train. Now that that's done, we have all of the shapes acquired. We need to send them into a central location. I could just send each train to a single square. I feel like that might be the best idea. So why don't we just send each train to its own individual 1x1 platform, and then we can figure out what to do from there, because then once we have 12 belts of shapes on here, we can figure out what exactly we need to do next. That's a good idea. I think I've just come up with an absolute genius system that we can use here. We can have all of the trains running into a single line like this, and then what we can do is we can just kind of stack these together like so. And then what we can do, we can grab rail routing, and then we can send a specific colored rails into each of these stops. Now, the real question is this going to work? So basically, I've got this set up so red gets rerouted to here. Everything else keeps going. Green goes to here. Blue goes to here. White goes to here. Everything gets merged back onto the exact same line. All right, so after a little bit of thinking, I don't think this is going to work out as well as I think it will because it's going to have to be some really weird movements with the trains. I don't think I know what I'm really doing here. Alrighty, here we go. We've got all of our trains kind of lined up. I technically did this slightly inefficiently because some of the train lines are longer than the other ones. More specifically, the emeralds are very close, and these ones are quite far away. I could have ran the lines down, but this one's still going to be the farthest no matter what, so I don't really think it's going to matter that much considering how many shapes we're actually making. So, we have all 4 of the shapes that we need. Now what? Well, I think we need to figure out probably how to decrypt the shape first, so why don't we go ahead and maybe we'll put a 2x2 up here, and then we can try to figure out exactly how to do that. First thing we need to do is, of course, grab our display or global wire receiver here. We configure this to operator shape 0, and then if we just set up a display real quick, that will show this is what we need to make. So the first thing we need to do is we need to grab a shape analyzer, outputs the shape type and color of the northeast first layer. So if we put a display here, it is gray, and it is a circle. So that is that. But, of course, we want to grab all of the shapes, so we need to put rotators down. Simulated rotator. One here, and one here, and then boom, boom, boom. So this will give us all 4 of the sides that we want. And then we can just put shape analyzers here and displays down as well. And I realize that we do need to put down a... just a normal one, so I guess we can do that as well. Just like that. Top right is a gray circle, as you can see right there. Top left is a gray square. Bottom left is a gray circle, and then bottom right is nothing, because there is nothing here. What we need to do now is we need to figure out exactly how to get all the shapes in the right place, right? If we just had, say, a circle with 4 different colors on it, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to send each line, say like this. This is going to be top right, top left, bottom right, as an example. So what we need to do is we need to get the wires from here sent to here. Bro, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so I went ahead and I've centralized all of the shapes into one platform. Now, I don't know if this is actually going to help me or hinder me. I feel like this is going to be a hindrance more than a help. Oh my god, what am I doing with my life? Okay, you know what? Since this is getting really complicated and I'm very confused as to what's going on, I think we're just going to go full send janky mode. We are going to use as many platforms as we can. This is literally only going to be for sending wires. So now I've done this kind of awkwardly because now the wires are going to have to intersect with the actual shapes here, but that's fine. So just thinking about this now, we need to get this code to tell these shapes, hey, do we go this way or do we not? And this is only going to be first floor as well. We're probably going to have to redesign this. Oh my god, wait, this is going to be so complicated. The system I'm making right now can only work for bottom floor. Holy dude. How is it? Oh my god. Jesus Christ, this is so complicated. My brain hurts.
No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop!
Okay, so after a quick think, I don't know how well this is going to work out. I think the train right now is the problem. I need to figure out how to get this train designed better. Okay, that's going to be hopefully a lot better. So now theoretically, we need to also add another wagon to the train here. So there we go. Each train now has 4 wagons, 4 stops, should be loaded up with all the proper shapes. Now that we've got all of our trains in place, this should be a little bit better. Now, of course, I did just string together all these platforms here. We have 31,000 platform units. I don't really care. I'm thinking this is going to be first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor. You know what I mean? It's with stackers. This will be the bottom shape, and then the next, and then this will be the top. Whatever. Now, the real problem with this is going to be painting, right? How is that going to work? Oh my god, I'm so confused. You know what? Let's just get all the shapes going into the correct places first, and then we'll figure out how to deal with every other problem that shows up. Let's just solve the first one first. But how are we going to send the signal for the 4th floor? Because we only have 3 floors. Oh my god, this is so complicated. You know what we could do? I got an idea. We're gonna kind of reorganize. Instead of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th stack, what we're gonna do is this line right here is going to be... I lost it again. I lost my train of thought already. Oh, Jesus Christ. So instead of having 4 squares here, that's kind of a problem. What I want to do is have squares, spikes, or squares, circles, spikes, emeralds. Because then if I do that, we can merge them all into one platform. So if that's the case, say for example, we have this shape here. So we need a circle, square, circle, and then nothing. So then what we could do is this one could be circle, then square, then circle, and then this one would be shut off by a automation somehow. Because then, since all 4 shapes are here, we just have to figure out where to send what. See, but then that also wouldn't work because there's 2 circles here and there's only 1 circle on this platform. Oh my god, I hate this, man. I'm so stupid, I can't figure this out. How about we just cut all the garbage out and let's just focus on the first floor, right? Because if we only do the first floor, we don't have to worry about stacking because it's just copy, paste, and then stack it. Now we have to rework the trains again so that they only pick up where the shapes they need on the certain side. All right, so now what's going to happen is we're going to just pick a place to put all the trains, and then we're just going to have them all here. Every train that passes through here is only going to stop at the first one, because then it's going to put circles on the first wagon and then keep going. All right, so then we want red to go here. Everything else goes this way except for red. Red gets here and then it gets merged back on. Let's just say, for the sake of example, that output is going to be here. If we needed 4 squares, we would have to route this square to here, this one to there, the third one to here, and the fourth one to there. We do that with all 4 shapes. I think that makes sense, because then once we can get those painted and then stacked together, that would theoretically work, right? Now, the real problem is going to be eventually getting all the wires, but I think we can just have multiple wireless receivers, and then we can just have a receiver next to each little platform. That kind of makes sense to me. Let's go with that. Now, another thing that I realized, I probably didn't have to segment off the trains like I did, but it just makes more sense for my brain to do it this way, so that's what we're gonna do. And it looks like this did receive all of the shapes it's supposed to. Fortunately, we're starting with circles down here, but that is fine by me. Since we're starting from down here, we're going to put a platform right here. This is going to be the decoding station. This is going to be the first floor decode station. You know what? Labels exist, don't they? Oh my god, let's just put a label down. This platform only does top right, so we need to figure out a way to get the circle top right. Luckily for me, the circles are already here. Let's say, for instance, if a circle is needed in top right, that's pretty easy. We can just send it like this. But we need to get our logic going in. Belt filter. So now, as you can see over here, this should be a quarter circle. And so should this. So we need to match these 2 together. So I think we're going to need an AND gate. Both inputs are on. Okay, but what if we wanted to do both inputs are the same, right? Because if we theoretically, just as a test, we took this one, then that would also do that. So we need to not do that. So I think we need to use a compare. So now we run this in here, that's not going to turn on. But if we run it from the 3rd floor wire up here, that will turn on because they're the same. That does make sense. Okay, so now what we can do is then run this wire into that. And then just for the sake of testing if does this actually work, let's send this into a trash here. Turn this off. It won't turn on at all. It'll just stay off the belt. Perfect. So now we need to do something similar for everything. Dear Lord. I think we just need to get all the shapes into their proper places and then we deal with the wires. Now there's probably a better way to clean up this like input here. So I'm going to try it. Okay, so now we've got circles everywhere. This is going to get very awkward. Over on Circle Land, we have circles, spikes, diamonds, and squares. Over here in Wareland, we've got squares, circles, emeralds, diamonds, spikes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, whatever. It's fine. Is this janky? Yes. Do I care? No. Now we have to figure out logic for this, right? So this shouldn't actually be that bad. So we just need to route everything into a nice little convenient area where we can do something similar to this. This is the main line that everything will be merging into. Okay, now we need to run all of the comparisons to make sure everything is in the right place over here. Okay. I think that should work. So theoretically, as you can see, this is stopped, this is stopped, this is stopped, and this is going. So we need to copy a similar setup to this on all of the other 3 platforms. Now, unfortunately, all of these kind of shapes, I've kind of wired them weird, so we're probably going to have to do a little bit of rewiring. It's going to be rather annoying. So let's go claim some operator levels, because we probably have a lot. Hi, we are now top 3.5%. Cue the time lapse. Let's get all of these readers done. This is going to be weird. Oh boy. Holy dude. Okay, that is it. Good lord, this is a mess, dude. Don't even look at it. It's ugly. Ugh. Good news, though. We're all good, as you can see. Top right is getting a circle, which is supposed to. Top left is getting a square. Bottom left is getting another circle. And then bottom right is getting nothing because there is nothing there. So since we're only going to work on bottom floor, I think the next thing we need to do is paint. Or we copy paste this into these three. We need to figure out how to get the second floor, though. So I think we're going to just do an unstacker. I think that's a thing. Let me go check. Unstacker, yeah. So how does this actually work? Simulates separating the top layer of a shape, does not break crystals. Okay. Real question, how do you actually use this thing? So this is the top layer, technically, because this is the bottom layer. So we need to find like a shape that's like stacked twice that we can like actually receive. Do I have any that I can just like set up real quick? I guess I could go to one of my milestones. How about milestone 4? You got space on one of your platforms that I can just like check something really quick? We just slap down a belt reader real quick, and then we can send the shape code out into a transmitter, and we can set that on channel 0 red, and then we can head back over to the MAM just to test this out. So if we set this to red, okay, so bottom goes on the left. Okay, so that's actually not too bad to do. So now theoretically this will get the bottom of the shape, but now if we had something that was stacked like 3 times, we'd have to do that again. Let's head to a place where there's 3 things stacked. Here we go, milestone 6. You've got 3 things stacked. Okay, so now theoretically if we were to just like send this into another one, I did reorganize this so we could actually see what's being displayed here. It just helps understand things a little better. So now we run this into like this, then that should be displaying bottom floor, right? Wait, so why is that the middle floor now? I don't really understand how this is working. So what is this displaying? So this is first floor, right? And we are getting the blue one. So we want the gray one, not the green one. Okay, so this is kind of weird. So an unstacker just splits the top off and then sends in the other ones. So how is this going to work out? So we want the top shape probably to be red. So the red wants to be the top, not the bottom. This is in fact the bottom. This is, you know what? Actually, you know what? Let's keep red as the bottom shape. That makes sense. So we need the middle shape, or the second middle here. So we need gray. So we're going to have to set up something like this. Why is that still the bottom? What? The real question is though, what happens if we stack 4 things on top of each other? So we need to go just do that somewhere. I don't know how to just like put in a simulated shape code. I wish you could do that. There's probably a way to do it. I just don't know it. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay, well, let's just go grab the shape code from here. All we have to do to test this now is to just paste this in here, and then we just put in circle yellow in there, and then, yeah, that'll be that. So this is what we can use to test. We can also just take out this, because that'll give us this one. We can then get rid of the Christmassy colored, or the Christmas theme part on top, and then we can send, there we go. Okay, so now that we've got all of these set up, we can figure out exactly what's going to happen to each of these things if we send them into, say, a signal transceiver or receiver, transmitter, whatever. For instance, right now, this is 4 stacked ones. What happens if we were to send this into the first floor? We still get the blue bottom, which is good. So now, second floor, we should end up with the gray, which is what we were looking for, right? So we set this to green. We now no longer get gray. That's a problem. Why are we getting the second one? So this thing just rips off the top shape. So then if we sent this into another one, it would rip off the top shape. Yeah. So now this theoretically is how we get all of the shapes right here. Okay, so this does make some sense. So now what if let's try this now. See, now that is a problem. If it's only 3 things stacked on top of each other, this should be the 4th thing, but this is the 3rd one. So that is a problem we're going to have to solve. Okay, there we go. A little bit of testing later, as you can see. Okay, maybe there's a little bit more than a little bit of testing. I figured out that on the left side, it always goes top to bottom, which is kind of what we were looking for. I was trying to think like, oh yeah, because it goes on the right and the left, but if there's 2 things, then this is going to be empty, or if there's 3 things, it's going to be something else. Kind of confusing, but I think we got it figured out. So basically then what I've done is I've made this one the toppest shape, the one on top of everything else, is first, which does add up as well, because if there's only one thing, that is of course on the top only. Now I think the real thing we need to figure out is what were to happen if we plug this in and there's only a single shape. So let's just go ahead and plug this in, and we need to put this on operator 0. as you can see, this is the toppest. The real question though is this one also going to turn to toppest? It is not, because there's nothing over here. Perfect. So that makes sense. So then this is the top of middle, this is the bottom middle, and this is the bottom. As you can see, we've got it kind of progressively going down the line by these little displays over here, so it all makes a bunch of sense. So this is how we are going to configure everything like this, but this is only for the shape. Paint, we're going to have to modify the system to take the output from this side. As you can see right here, it's painted here. That's just a simple move around of the wires. That's not going to be too difficult to do. We're just going to have to modify this slightly. But we have what we need to now put these all in place, so let's go ahead and do that. So now I did go ahead and get everything set up for the other 4 platforms. I could copy this system over if I wanted to, and you know what? Since we're here and we already got the other ones in place, we might as well. Now theoretically, this should be reading nothing, but since this is technically reading this shape that I have displayed in here, it is going to activate for these bottom 2 because I did not put the correct receiver in here. Okay, so I've also kind of thought about painting because that is the next step. I was originally thinking, well, we could just put it on a 1x2 here because, yeah, we've got enough paint inputs, right? And then realize we don't. So if we were to look at pipes here, let's say we're coming in. This is enough for 1 color. So 2, 3 colors, 4, 5, 6 colors. White. Can't really make white. But then I was thinking to myself, now hang on just a minute here. Maybe we can just mix things on premise because we don't really need a lot of space for that, right? Because if we take a look at this is going to be a single belt. So if we look at our painters, we only need 4 painters total, which should be pretty simple to fit on this platform, assuming we have everything that we need, right? There's a few ways to do this. We can either A, have one platform be 3 colors, another one be 3 colors, and then one be white. We could try to do a 1x2 and have everything on there with mixers, but then I looked at the mixers, it's only 2. So what I'm thinking we do is we try to design a platform that can do 3 different colors, and then we will send the colors in here, here, and here, and then mix them on the platforms. How much paint do we actually need here? 7,200 liters per minute can run this whole thing. These can run 7,200 liters a minute. So if we take a look at the painter, it takes 450 liters per minute, which adds up to 4 of these, which is enough to paint 1 belt. So 1 launcher can paint 1 belt. So what we can do, we're not going to really have to worry too much about paint because that would work just fine. Running a pipe straight along like this, we're not going to have to worry about running out of paint, which is good because we don't want to run out of paint. We want to have paint for everyone. So I think it's time now we're going to design the painting platform. Hopefully I can figure out a way to get mixers placed in all of these, but honestly, it might be a little bit difficult considering that we are going to have to be running 3 separate pipes from here to 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 here. And also we're going to have to get mixers involved and it's going to be kind of awkward. So it's going to be a process, so wish me luck. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, this is getting very complicated very quickly. I'm gonna attempt to explain it, so wish me luck. So basically what we're doing down here is we're taking the color codes from the simulated rotator, right? So this one is obviously gray, 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 and then nothing because there's nothing right there. Sending our wires along, and we're dropping them off at each respective location. Right here, as you can see from this label over here, is the top right. And the top right shape is this one. So this is a half circle and it is gray. And since top right is this wire, we can follow this wire along right here. So it runs into this little comparison right here. If it's white and it matches white, it'll go straight into this painter, and this will only supply white. Otherwise, it'll go out and around. So that means it's gray. So then we send the line up through here over the third floor and into here where it does a whole bunch of checks. If it's gray, it keeps going. If it's not gray, it goes down here. If it's yellow, it goes on. If not, down here. Cyan, here. If not, down here. And then finally magenta. It'll go here. It should never get to here, but if it does, we're going to have a clog somewhere. I could put a trash there, but it doesn't really matter, because if something isn't going through this system, that means something way worse is occurring than just getting rid of shapes, and we're going to have to troubleshoot that later. But in the scenario that it's not any of these, wait a minute, I just thought of an issue. Yeah, we're going to have to rework this whole section, because what happens if it's red? It's not gray, so it's going to go down here. It's not yellow, so it's going to go down. Not cyan, going to go down. Not magenta, so it's going to get stuck. So I think we need to either skip the gray. Yeah, we need to skip the check for gray. We don't actually want this. Instead, what we want is it to just go straight down. So if it's yeller, it'll go straight. If not, it'll go down. If it's cyan, it'll go straight. If not, go down. Magenta, go right. If not, go down to here. This is where it is not any of the secondary colors, in which case we need to send it off back to the line. As long as it doesn't need to be painted in these three, it's good to go. Okay. Good thing I checked that, and good thing I tried to explain it, because otherwise we would have not done well. In that case, we can claim some operator levels. Do you think we'll get to 100? Because I have been kind of cooking on this a while. Yep. Yeah, baby. 107. That's a nasty looking shape. So this is good to go, except there's no paint. That's kind of a problem. We do need to get paint in here somehow. Now, how are we going to do that, though? Well, we're going to do something similar to this with trains, but they're going to have to be sent in some really kind of awkward areas. I'm sure we can figure it out. It's not going to be too difficult, but the real kicker is that we're going to need paint mixers, or should I just mix it on site and then ship it in? I feel like that would be the easiest solution. If we just mix everything straight up in the void and then we just send the trains in just to get the stuff, that makes a lot more sense. Only issue is red is kinda not really available, but we got some right here. I think that's what we're gonna do. So why don't I go ahead and just get all of that going? That's probably going to be another time lapse, so cue the music. Okay, well, pause the time lapse for a second here. I think we ran into a little bit of an issue. It's not really an issue because we're overproducing, but it is still an issue. So right now, red is going on all three floors. Blue and green will follow suit as well. The way that I've set this up, though, has red on the bottom floor, green on the middle floor, blue on the top floor, which means we want to have red only on the bottom of the train. So we actually need to cut out half, way more than half. This is all needs to go, and it needs to go in like this. So we only have one belt of red. Now, I'm fairly certain that's fine. So even if we got every single piece red, we would still have enough red. And also, now that I'm thinking about it, this is going to be really weird because I could just have a single train jump this belt, or maybe further down, obviously, and then it would run along here. It would have a stop, maybe like here, and then it would unload all of the fuels. We actually have enough space for this. Wait a minute. Oh my god. Dude, we're totally doing this. Because then the train will just jump here, drop off its fluids, and head on its merry way. Now, the problem with this is, I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have 4 trains, right? One for each thing. So what we're going to have to do, I'm just going to rework all of this right now. just to make things easier on myself. We're gonna have to have multiple trains coming in here. So each train needs to have its own red at the bottom floor, right? So this is gonna be a little bit awkward to actually load properly, right? Okay, so theoretically a system like this should work. So for instance, the red train will go here, jump this gap, and it will stop right here to get a red paint in its first slot in its first cabin. Real question is now, can you pause a train mid-jump? Because I feel like we're going to need 3 wagons, obviously. So there's going to be train, wagon, wagon, and there's just going to be a wagon kind of hovering into the ether. So we're going to have to test that to see if that actually does, in fact, work properly. All right, here comes the red train. It makes its jump, and it literally just sits in space. Okay, well, I guess that solves that problem. So there we go. That is our system for at least red. Basically, we can copy-paste this to all of the other 3 colors, and then we're going to have to do some really weird paint mixing because we're going to need 4 pipes of that, and our paint mixer can only do 3 pipes because it has 3 platforms, so we're going to have to do some transforming or something. That's going to be kind of annoying, so I'm running back with the time lapse. Alrighty, so we're marking off a milestone here. Basically, as you've been seeing probably in the time-lapse, all of these trains have exactly what they need to come around, except they're kind of stuck right now, so we should probably fix that. So as you can see, they're going to come back around and head back out to the main area, because that is what they are currently doing. This loop is going to be very long, so hopefully it's not going to be too bad. The reason I've stopped this and marked it as a milestone is once this white train here gets over to this complex mess, this is going to be the first mixed color that we make. So here it is arriving. It's dropping off blue. So this blue is going to get shipped into here, mixed with the green, and create cyan on the second floor only. That is where cyan needs to be. We can go check that being created up here. Hallelujah. Cyan gets sent into the second floor and sent out. There we go. And then that'll get piped into here. And then this will be the stop for cyan, which then all of the trains showing up should pick up cyan and continue on their merry way to drop paint off. Perfect. So now we have to do this setup again for magenta and again for yellow and another time for white. Ugh. All right, I'll get to it. All right, here we are a little while later, and as you can see, the factory has expanded a little bit. Over here, we are creating white. I had to go all the way into this other square just to get some extra blue, red, and green because we basically ran out of any way to get extra red. There is not enough here to get what we need. So we made white over here. We also went ahead and made purple and yellow. I guess it's magenta technically, but like whatever. Yellow's right here, and then I think magenta is... Right, yeah, magenta's right over here by the red. Okay. So I went ahead and stopped all the trains real quick just so we could send them all at the same time to see if everything is set up properly. So assuming we can catch this train without deleting it, we can send the red one on its way, and then the green, and then the blue, and then the white. And then hopefully we can follow this train going all the way around the entire network, picking up every single color it needs, and then finally making a stop at the end of the train line. So we've already picked up purple. We're just going to go ahead and follow the red train because it is in first place after all. And here it is coming into station to grab the green. And grabbing blue next, and then stops over here to grab some white, and grabbing cyan, and finally stopping off to grab some yellow. That should be all the colors on this train here, which now we will go all the way down here and stop at this little stop that I put in. So hopefully every single train should have every single paint color, and we are going to check that because I don't want to have anything going wrong. And we are good to go. All 4 trains have all 4 colors that we need to paint everything. So now we need to install an actual painting platform into here. I'm thinking since this, I think, does work, we are going to head and just copy this. Hopefully I've got everything lined up. I was very careful to line everything up, so I would assume that it's going to be fine. All right, so we can go ahead and pause, which, you know, didn't really realize you can do until like an hour ago. So that's convenient for especially holding trains in place. But let's go ahead and unpause after this is built. We can go ahead and follow this red train. Hopefully it goes where it is actually supposed to go, drops off paint appropriately, And then hopefully we'll be all good to go. All right, hopefully red gets split off. Looks like it did. Awesome. Stops in the proper place. And it's completely backwards. We just need to make sure that this actually works, because I don't know if this loop is going to work properly. I think it will, but I guess we'll find out, right? All right, here comes the red train. Here we go. Of course it has to save right as the train gets here, dude. Literally every time. Come on. All right, red train gets siphoned off, and this should be in the correct working order. I missed! I missed! I missed! No! Oh, everything else was set up except for the red. Oh my god. Okay, but I guess we can watch the blue train. Where do you end up going? Oh, they end up going right back in their path. Okay, cool. So now we have to wait for a third time for the trains to get here. Hopefully everything will be in the right orientation, please. While we're waiting, let's go ahead and claim some operator level, because it has been cooking in the background, because, you know, making all these things, it's been taking a while. Top 1.8% at operator level 115. Wow. While we're waiting, I guess we could figure out the next step. Since the shape is the correct shape and the correct color, we need to now do correct orientation, and we need to cut it into its 4 pieces to make the 4 full belts that we want. So let's go ahead and put down a platform here, and then obviously the shapes are going to come out here, which we can then... We're going to have to use cutters here because we want everything. Now, I think to design the bottom right and all of them, actually, I'm going to go over here to a square land, just some random place of squares, and I'm going to hook up some squares to it, just so I can get a visualization of exactly how everything is rotating. It's going to make testing so much easier. Okay, so now theoretically, this should be giving us our full belt, right? It is. Okay, yep, that's where things are going to get messy. Alrighty, so this is kind of what I've got planned right here. Basically, it goes into a cutter. It gets rotated all into the same direction, and then it gets cut again. So this will be one full belt of everything, and this should be our second one. And I just added a little transformer here that just brings half of the squares up to the 3rd floor, and we can just copy this over twice. But we need to make sure that this belt is actually fully saturated first, so we can go ahead and take a look. It is! Perfect. Okay, so now all we have to do, theoretically, is we just kind of copy, go up, and paste. And there we have everything bottom right. So now what I'm thinking, we can just copy this over and then put different rotators in depending on what else we need, right? Because if we need top right, we just put a rotator here, because then we don't have to worry about, you know, designing a new, just putting the rotators in here. We can just put them all out here. So first up, we need bottom right, and that is bottom right done. Perfect. Okay, so now we need to go and get bottom left. That should be a pretty easy fix. All right, bottom left. Next up, probably top left. Yep. And then finally, top right and top right. Just like that. Okay, so now everything should be rotated into place, and now it needs to get stacked together. Now I'm sensing there's going to be some problems here. The problem I'm thinking of is there's nothing here, right? So if we want to stack things in order, let's just say we want to stack these two together, and then we stack this one, and then we stack this one. But obviously this isn't going to have anything in it. So we need to somehow disable this stacker and send the items on just as is, instead of trying to stack them on something that doesn't exist. That's going to be a little bit challenging, but I think we're going to have to grab another signal right here. We need to check if it's nothing and then disable stackers accordingly. The easiest way to do that is going to be starting with these two. So I think we're going to stack these two and then add this one and then add this one. So the good thing about this is we don't need to really detect which part goes where, because we are just combining. What on earth has happened over here? Yeah, there's just a bunch of overflow. This is going to tend to happen probably with every new, like, once the shape gets flipped, there's just going to be a bunch of random garbage in here. So hopefully nothing gets stuck. So this is detecting bottom left and this is bottom right. So this is the two bottom ones, and we are stacking those up here, as we can see by the labels. Bottom left, bottom right. We need to compare these two signals, right? Oh, I think I figured out why this gate exists. Okay, so this will forward the input signal if the trigger signal okay. Wait a minute. Okay, I think I've just figured it out. I'm just stupid. This does work like I think it does. I just didn't know that. I had to look at the wiki to figure out what this was doing. Yeah, I'm just stupid. Okay, basically, if you send this a 1, it'll go straight, and if you send it a 0, we can just test that real quick. It'll go left. So yeah, we can work with that. Okay, yeah, that's so much easier. Okay, so this signal coming out from this AND gate is our comparison. If it is 0, which means, hey, one of these is empty, go left. Which this left can be sent straight into here, and then the straight will go off to where it needs to go. So that should work out just fine. So now everything that is detected, hey, this is both fine, we can stack these together. will then get sent onto the second floor. So now we need to send our wire signal over here and do the exact same thing for this. Okay, and there we go. That should be a very, very janky system to determine exactly what needs to happen up here as well. So basically what we need to do is we need to copy this to this bottom half, set the signals obviously, and also we need to make sure that the signals over here transfer properly, which is going to be a bit hard. Okay, that's much better. Basically, I just had this backwards. So we copy pasted that over here and here, and we should be fine. So this is the comparison obviously for here. Now, a bit of an issue is getting the wires out of here. We're gonna deal with that later. But as you can see, this is currently correctly stacked, which is great. And so is this, technically. We are gonna have to set up a similar detection system for here. That shouldn't be too bad. So if this or this is live, or both, obviously, one of these has to be live for this to be live. One of these has to be live for this to be live. And both of these have to be cool to actually be stackable, right? Yes. Okay, so if one of these is okay, that means there's a shape in the top somewhere. If one of these is okay, there's a shape in the bottom somewhere, which means shape in the top, shape in the bottom, both good. We send the true signal to actually process. There we go. That's it. That is the single floor done. There you go. That is a single floor MAM completed. All we have to do now is copy paste things over to the other 3 floors. Make sure that everything is, working properly. We are going to have to make some modifications to these signal receivers, which is okay. I think the only one we modified is this one, though. Everything else modifies on platforms, so we should just be able to copy it. And then what we're going to do is have to stack these 2 onto these 2 onto these, and then these 2 onto these. Going to have to do something similar with the stackers for this. That's going to be a bit unfortunate, but that's okay, because right now it's only a single thing. So we can just start this going while everything else is waiting. There we go. That's it. So for now, why don't we just go ahead and get a train loader, and then we can send this straight in. That is an absolute miracle that we've somehow managed to get this all working properly. Wow. Of course, paint hasn't been tested yet, but at least the stacking and rotating works properly. So that's good. So we'll just have to wait for the train to show up, wait for a piece to get in here, and then we can move on to the next one of these, which then hopefully will help us test things further. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get all of this weird, janky system copied over. Alrighty, I went ahead and got everything copied over. We also got all of the signal processing done down here. That wasn't too difficult. So now basically floor 2, 3, and 4 for each shape should be good to go. Now another thing, our train is almost inbound with the first of the MAM milestones. So let's go ahead and give this a watch. Boom. Now, is there enough? There was. Okay, so let's go back over to the MAM, and I'd like to see what happens when I press the claim button, because everything's gonna change, and I would like to be here when it does. Oh god, this is the scary part. We need to now test if it works for this. Okay, that's actually a good shape to test with. So what's actually happening here? Okay, so hopefully everything is currently turned off. The belt isn't connected. Oh my god. Okay, good thing we caught that. Now we're making some really funky shapes in here because the shape code is different now. That's fine because we don't need it. I'm just gonna wait for this to actually get the proper shapes, and then we can see if this thing still works properly. Okay, I guess we can start working on the configuration to stack these 2 together, but we need to send a wire over here to detect if something is completely empty and then just like turn this whole thing off. So we're reading this. This is completely dead. We need to check if everything's dead. So I'm thinking to do that, we just do that. So if one of these is live, this will send a live. If one of these is live, this will send a live. Which then, if one of these is live, it'll send a live. So we can simulate this by just cutting this off, and then we can just put down a signal producer in any place, and let's just say 5. Okay, so 5, yeah, that's real. So we send that over. Okay, that's actually not too bad. Now, what's happening over here? We've already got 2 shipments of the stuff, and it looks like everything else just got shoved into a package. I don't know if this package contains a bunch of random garbage, but it looks like this is fine, so maybe we don't need to get rid of the byproducts. I'm gonna wait for this to be done. Claim it, and then we can chop this train out because we need to now compare the other ones. So the final comparison we need to do, we need to check if this bottom one is empty. If this bottom one is empty, which is the one we can actually test, if this one is empty, which means this has to be empty and this has to be empty, we can send this one right on its merry way. So we swap this out. Okay, and it looks like since I have just plugged this in and just went with it, this does actually work because we are detecting this is empty. We can check that right here. So then we send all of the shapes we currently have on our merry way. Perfect. Oh my god, I think that's literally it, because this can do 4 layers of any color, shape, any type of shape. Unfortunately, no pins, so hopefully we don't run into pins, but it looks like we just have to do normal squares right now, so that's cool, I guess. Anyways, let's grab a proper train and get this going. I think we're gonna go with the standard red train just for old time's sake. 1, 2, 3, 4 shape wagons because we've got 4 train stops. That should be just fine. Now, theoretically, squares should start showing up in here. Looks like we've already got half of them being squares, so that's good. They should be making their way through the system as we speak. Wow. That's it. MAM. Completed. At least for the basic scenario, and not crystals. But hey, you know what? I'm proud of this. This is a very complicated system, and we did get it to work. Let's wait for squares to show up. And I think there's one final thing that we can do while we're waiting. Ah, there we go. A roller coaster. We haven't even made a roller coaster yet, so I figured we just made our MAM. Let's celebrate a little bit. And looks like we got our first thing of squares coming in. Is it going to make it? Oh, so close. But anyways, roller coaster time. Look at this. And that, I would say, is an MAM completed. We have made every single shape possible, excluding pins and excluding crystals. Honestly, I'm quite proud of this. This took quite a long time to build, and it took a lot of brain power. But honestly, it looks pretty sick, doesn't it? Look at this, dude. Wow. Well, I think with all of this being done, the only thing we have left to do now is just claim more milestones. Just to see how high we can get. So honestly, I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to let this run for a little bit. I'll check back in every new shape we've made, and then hopefully everything will be working as intended. And there is squares completed for level 2. And for level 3, we need more squares. And there is some more squares for level 3. And there's level 4 completed. And if you'll notice, there's blue on level 4. And it is completed, which means our blue is actually working as intended. Beautiful stuff. I think they're, where are they? Right here, yep. Blue is getting painted into squares. Now, it doesn't look like it's working very fast, but if you can see under there, it is. Oh, dear. Ah. I believe I've just discovered a design flaw in the system here. Only half of the painters are actually painting right now. Yeah, can anyone see the issue? Yeah. We're gonna have to fix that. Yeah, let me just go ahead and try to get that fixed real quick. Alrighty, so here is a modified design, and by modified, I mean extremely heavily modified. Basically, the issue was we weren't inputting to half of the painters. As you can see right here, there's just no inputs to those, so that's kind of an issue. So we had to rejig some things. We had to move this onto the 3rd floor so I could actually fit all the belts in properly, but hopefully this should work. So let's just go ahead and copy this, paste it right in here to the blue squares, and hopefully everything works out just fine. It looks like it will. We are also going to have to edit the secondary colors as well, but I think that should just be a simple copy paste. Looks like everything is getting paint. Looks like we're all coming out properly. And now we just gotta sit at the end of this belt and just click on it and make sure that we are getting one full belt of blue. And it looks like we are. Okay, perfect. Now the next issue we're going to have to do is we're going to have to fix the white because it's also broken over here. Okay, so now that looks to be working just fine for the white. Now to test this, I'm just going to loop this back in. Just to make sure that this is actually working properly, we want to make sure that white gets painted on all 4. I'm going to assume it is, but just to be sure, we're going to send in a couple shapes to check. Okay, that should be just fine. All right, so that should be all good for the white, so we can just go ahead and copy this, strip out each one of these on each of the different floors, paste it in, and then that should be just fine. Hopefully that will resolve all of the problems with painting. So that's done, hopefully. I hope that's the last problem we're going to run into. We should now still be getting 4 belts of all of this over here. Yes, looks like we are. Thank goodness for that. Is this 4 full belts? Yep. I guess now we can go ahead and claim all of these. And our next shape is that weird thing. And we are now top 1.2%. Wow. I guess we'll be back when 5 is done. And there we have level 5 completed. Next up, looks like we are doing this. Still no paint, so we can't stress test our paint yet, which is a bit unfortunate. But hey, top 1.1%. And here we have level 6 completed. We can go ahead and claim that. Next up is green on this side only. Okay, that's actually good because I'm pretty sure we just made this shape but not green. So now we get to test out if our coloring is actually working, which is good. And here we have level 7 as well as level 20 on milestone 9. So we can go ahead and claim that and claim this. And that puts us at top 1% worldwide. Since we are now the top 1% of all players in the basic scenario, I think that is a great place to end this episode. We got our MAM built this episode, and honestly, I'm pretty proud of it. So I think the last thing that we need to do to seal this thing in, go ahead and save this as a blueprint. We will call this the MAM. Now, what on earth should we use for the symbols? Ooh, I know. All right, MAM, infinity with shapes and colors. Sounds like a good idea to me, and we don't even need to put it in a folder. We just need to save it. Perfect. Alrighty, and now that that's saved, we could bring that into the next scenario. Speaking of the next scenario, I think that's what we're going to be doing next episode. And then once we complete the hard scenario, I think then we can take the time to upgrade this to have pins and maybe even crystals. But until then, I think I'm just going to sit here and just observe and admire this very complicated machine that I have built. Goodbye.